You are listening to the IFH Podcast Network. For more amazing filmmaking and screenwriting podcasts, just go to ifhpodcastnetwork.com.
Just a heads up, this episode is brought to you by the Script Summit Screenplay Contest, where you can win a cash prize or even a contract with a Hollywood talent manager. All you have to do is visit scriptsummit.com for more info. All right, welcome to the Successful Screenwriter Podcast. On this episode, I am joined by a guest host as we analyze and break down a film to discover what works and what doesn't. All right, welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Geoffrey D. Calhoun, joined with script analyst and staff writer at WeFixYourScript.com, Kristy Leigh Lussier. Thanks for being with us.
I am so excited to be here.
Awesome. All right, let's take a look. So today we are going to analyze the Amazon original film Bliss, starring Owen Wilson and Salma Hayek. This was directed by Mike Cahill, and I'm going to give you the logline. You ready?
I'm ready.
A mind-bending love story following Greg, who after recently being divorced and then fired, meets the mysterious Isabel, a woman living on the streets and convinced that the polluted, broken world around them is a computer simulation.
Got it.
I got to take a breath after that one. That was a long line.
That's more like a brief synopsis versus a log line.
That is it. Thanks for that. Woof. All right, here we go. All right, so this was billed as a sci-fi thriller, but that is 100% not what this film is. This is not even in the same ballpark.
We're so good at finding movies that don't fall in the genre of what we think it is.
But this isn't on us. This is totally a marketing problem with this film. So Bliss is very much a hard drama about addiction. That is what this film is about. Owen's character is a guy that's just in the lull of his life, isn't enjoying what he's doing, and lives in a fantasy land, and he's addicted to opiates. I mean, that's the suggestion. He's addicted to painkillers.
Right.
Which then leads to crazy circumstances where he ends up homeless and meets a homeless woman who he falls in love with, and they become essentially drug addicts on the street. I mean, I'd compare it to a meth addiction.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because I don't like to go and read the reviews. I like to just have my own review.
Right, of course.
This time I took a look, and there was a number of people that commented that they work in that kind of field, whether it's a kind of in a rehabilitation field or a social work kind of field. And they said it was pretty accurate to kind of the personality traits of these people that they deal with on a daily basis.
Right, like the drug psychosis.
Yes.
Where you can't really decipher between what's real, what isn't, and then paranoia. My issue, and we're not even breaking down the film yet, but my concern is when they show the world of Bliss, right? It's a pretty great world.
Yeah.
And then, but these people are taking drugs. And so I almost just feel like, is this glorifying like the drug-induced psychosis? Because it's an amazing place, and he's found happy and he's content.
Yeah.
So that part was kind of tough to stomach. Whereas I look at like Requiem for a Dream, right?
Oh yeah.
That shows addiction, and that shows addiction in a very realistic way, and how much it really does shatter lives.
Sure.
And we kind of get that sense-ish with this film, but mostly we just deal with, is this real? Is this not real? Is this a psychosis? Is the world a simulation, or is he on drugs?
Right. And that's what was interesting. Yeah, that's such a good point, because is it a step where you're kind of like, hey, it's better on the other side anyway. But then that actually is the belief that they do feel that they are only, their true selves, and that they're happy and they're okay when they're on
with the addiction.
Yeah.
It's an interesting argument, and that's kind of what this film, at least in my perspective, I mean, I can't speak for the filmmaker, that this film is making. What I have issues with the film and the delivery of it is that it tries to be everything for everybody. And I think when you have that type of a situation in a film, you end up kind of pushing, not pleasing anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's an expectation for everybody who comes into it, whether they're looking for the sci-fi thriller element or they're looking, a drama.
A film about addiction. And this film tries to be the Matrix meets Requiem for a Dream. That's what it shoots for.
Sure.
Hands down, easy to understand, which is fine. I get it. And so what happens with Owen? He meets this homeless woman. They start taking these magic diamonds that take them to the Bliss world and then gives them magic powers in the real world, which is all part of a drug psychosis. And I like that. I thought that was interesting. It's when they start playing with the idea of we're in a simulation and none of this other stuff is real, so I can kill this guy because he's not real. Okay. So they're convincing themselves of the psychosis, but then we see moments like early on where a book kind of shimmies in and shimmies out of existence. And so the filmmaker is trying to show us visually like, oh yeah, this is a simulation.
Yeah.
And so they try and marry towards that. So in Act 2, when they finally leave, quote, the simulation and end up in Bliss, then there's weird things because he's seeing people that he shouldn't be seeing, like his daughter from the simulation, who we realize is the one thing he always yearns for.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get to Act 3, and the big turn in Act 3 is they only have enough pills to get out of the simulation. And look, there's lots of plot holes in Act 3. We can both agree when characters in a film are asking other characters why we didn't do this a different way. That's because we're trying to justify we're trying to
fix it ourselves. Yeah.
With
the characters.
And it doesn't, so we can move beyond the plot holes and just look at when she is surrounded by the cops and she takes the drug, we don't see her disappear. They cut away and they don't show it.
Yeah. They don't show it. I mean, they show him reacting to something.
They show him reacting, but we don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where you lose people, is because you don't pick a direction and go with it. And so you try and like, oh, I'll just leave it up to other people. But I think people want to see what you're trying to say and where you're trying to go with it.
Absolutely. I mean, I kind of felt that way throughout the whole film. Was I don't know which way that I even feel like I want to go with it.
Yeah.
I had a sense pretty much early on that is this pretty much a drug thing, because we obviously see him, in the very beginning, taking his pain medication drugs,
right,
and snorting them. So I felt like, is that where we're going with this? But then when they start to add these weird simulation, elements to it, I thought, I don't even know which way I'm supposed to go with this. So
it gets a little muddy.
It does.
And it gets a little muddy because they don't stick with a distinct way to do it. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the film Existence. So the theme, it's actually, you would like it. It's a Cronenberg film. Existence is a film where people go into a game simulation, right? And then their whole job is to try and break out of the simulation, and then they don't know if they ever actually get out of the simulation. Well, that's the point of the film. The whole point of the film is, do you know what reality is? What is real, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not what this film is saying.
Mm-mm.
This film is about trying to show drug addiction, showing the real world consequences of it, where this guy doesn't even recognize his own daughter because he's in a full on drug psychosis, and then attempting to justify what that psychosis or what he is experiencing through the world of Bliss, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that we can try and see through the addict's point of view, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
Whether I agree with it or not, I think it is interesting. It's an original take, but none of that has to do with, are we in reality? Are we not in reality? So I think if you remove that subplot, I think the film would be cleaner.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I thought of The Matrix, because clearly, obviously, we think of the scene in The Matrix where he has the red pill and the blue pill.
Right.
What was interesting about this one is even though we do see him take pain meds earlier, when he's in the bar, when he first meets her, she actually drugs his drink. So he doesn't get even the opportunity to choose am I going to try to believe what I'm going to try to believe?
Yeah,
He's
that
already
is a
just
great
pressed
point.
into it.
Well, you're right. And to follow that up, right, when he says, oh, I don't want to take this stuff anymore, then there are guys that are going to chase him and kill him from a van because he didn't want to buy drugs from them.
Right.
So then he takes the drug again under duress, under pressure, because he feels his life is at risk.
Right.
So then again, he is almost tricked into the situation.
Yeah, or forced into it without
yeah.
leading to that option of, does the character actually choose?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Go.
It makes him passive. It's a passive decision. Yeah.
Right.
And so
that's how I felt.
You're absolutely right on that. And that is to the detriment of his character, which luckily in the end he does make a choice. Thank God. And he makes a choice. And the end is quite powerful. I really do like the ending.
I do.
Yeah, where he is in the rehab situation and he pulls out the picture of the daughter and says, she says she's my daughter and I believe her. I like that. I think that is really good. And I just think there could have been ways to get there cleaner. And I think this can suffer from just one too many subplots or one too many aspects of the concept that we could have simplified and kept it a little bit more narrow with that through line.
Right. I definitely agree. And even when they get to Bliss, you start to see different subplots there with her character as this doctor who's doing this phenomenal research, and she's being doubted. And we meet Bill Nye the Science Guy.
It is out of the blue. Yeah.
It is out of the blue. But it's a completely new sub-thread of her journey of trying to figure out,
And it makes the script feel disjointed, right? Because then it starts
does.
feeling like, okay, we're not even watching the same film. We're watching a different film because they're trying to marry two different worlds into one script. And I can understand why is they want to show it, but it's just a little too much, I feel.
I agree. I definitely.
Yeah. But visually, but visually, so cool.
Oh, for sure.
Oh my God.
This shot really well.
Shot really well. The different ways the characters look. So if you have Selma Hayek when she's homeless, she's got these really cool tattoos on her chest, and her hair is dreadlocked, and then you show her when she's a physician and she's just this very capable, and stoic well put together woman. It's just so visually it's totally different. I thought that was really cool. And Owen Wilson is Owen Wilson. He's pretty much the same guy, but visually he's more cleaned up. I mean, when they made them look like homeless and racked and
it works.
They look like they're playing the part. Absolutely.
Yeah. Particularly for her, I think she did great in that transformation where you could definitely tell difference.
Yeah.
It was good.
I think it was really good. And then there's some little visual cues there about his hypnosis and the daughter. And I really did like the daughter subplot.
I did.
I thought it was very heartwarming, and it came in at the perfect time. So I thought all of that stuff was awesome, keeping that nice and grounded. And, she was his true anchor to the real world.
To the real world. Yeah, exactly. That's what I felt was great about it. And that's where, again, I wanted to go down the thread. Okay, this is about him and his journey with his addiction, because that daughter represents his end goal. That's the end goal to get there.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And the issue with, again, blurring the lines of whether Bliss is real or not, and how that takes away from this guy's kind of true journey into sobriety. Blurring those lines where we don't know if she's a simulation or not, because they never prove that she's not a simulation, right?
Sure. Right.
So then you end up having an ending which is similar to Terry Gilliam's Brazil. Now so if you look at Brazil, the ending of that movie, you think he gets the happy ending, right? Driving off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And then there's the pull away where we realize he's been lobotomized and he lost,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
It's the happy ending and the sad ending, right? He
Yes.
has the happy ending because mentally he's there, but he has the sad ending because the dude's lobotomized, right? So we're going for that ending again. That's what it feels like in this, like where if it is blurred and the simulation is the real world, he chooses to stay because this daughter is what he's always been missing in his life, whether she's or not. Okay, that's cool. But we don't know if it's real or not. And since we don't know if it's real or not, we don't know if this guy gave up a life where he was a physician and was helping other people out in the real world for a simulation, which then invalidates his journey.
Yeah.
So by blurring the lines and not picking a set path or direction, it almost steps in what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In my opinion. Now, I could be wrong. Who am I? I'm just a dude doing a thing. So,
well, you don't think that end scene where he walks up to her with flowers and she says, "It's okay, Dad, you're here." You don't think that solidifies she is real?
Since the opening scene shows a book glimmer in and out of existence, the doubt is already instilled in the viewer, so that we don't know. Just a little snippet like that, the filmmaker is educating us on what the world is. So I want to agree with it. I want to believe that this guy didn't give up a normal life to become a recovering drug addict just to have a daughter in his life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't know. Now, a lot of high art films will have that open ending and just say, it's okay, we'll let the viewer decide. But when you're talking about drug addiction, when you're talking about recovery from drug addiction, I would say it's probably best not to let people make up their own mind. But again, it's my opinion.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I don't know. I kind of feel different about the ending though. I guess that's me.
Yeah, like, that's fine.
If they would have cut it where he said, "This girl says she's my daughter and I believe her," and then that was the end, that would have been the sound seed of doubt is still there. But then we get this scene where we see her and he walks up to her and they hug. I feel like she's the real world. That's the real world. And that's what I feel. So there's no doubt in my mind that she's real.
Good. Yeah. And I want that. I want that to be true. I want that this guy was able to pull himself out of the world of bliss, out of a drug addiction into the real world and to walk through sobriety, because it is tragic. I mean, I almost lost somebody very, very close to me. I don't want to get into it, but it was somebody almost from an OD. And to watch them slip into the addiction and watch it destroy relationships and ruin lives, and then to thankfully see them get pulled out of it and be an intimate part of that process.
Right.
It's crazy because it's a slow process when the addiction starts to take place. But then once they're in it, it is incredibly quick and incredibly fast. And then it's almost like this tumbling snowball. And then you're like, am I going to lose this person? So, I mean, it's really scary.
Yeah. There's a sense of lost world and lost time because I mean, I'll be honest, major back injury, and I was on muscle relaxers and pain meds for 8-9 months because all they could do was just shove me with medication.
Right.
And I started to notice, and it did affect my life, and I started to notice that I wasn't necessarily addicted to the feelings that the drugs gave me because they just made me really sleepy. Yeah. But what it was is the psychology of, I have to take these pills every 4 hours because if I don't, I'm going to be in pain.
Right.
And I got addicted to that. That was what every time I was looking at the clock.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So I could see that I had kind of an empathy and a sympathy in that regard of, we have to have the right pills and we have to take them at the right time, or we'll.
No, I mean,
right.
That makes sense. The person that I knew, they got to the point where they took the pills because they didn't want to feel sick. It didn't even have anything to do with the pain, and I've never been in that situation, so I can only empathize with it. But seeing somebody be crippled like that,
right.
I mean, I get a headache if I don't have my Starbucks in the morning. I can't imagine if you're on some kind of a pain pill like that. That's like, that you
they're really
rely
strong.
on. Yeah,
they're really strong. And thankfully I was able to kind of get out of it because I went down a physical route where I started doing yoga and found other means of kind of, treatment. And thankfully that's what happened with me. Not everybody else is that lucky to kind of really get out of it in that way.
Well, and thank God that you're able to get through that. And a lot of it isn't anybody's fault. I mean, like with the pain pills, they were pushed so hard by marketing and everything. And doctors just writing, oh, we'll take this, and it's not like, normal people want to be addicted to Oxy, right? They throw their back out, they end up on it. And then
nobody
they
wakes
go
up and
through
says,
this,
I want this.
they go through this slippery slope. It's terrible because, I mean, these are people that you've known and love and respect. And well, we have some comments. So Alicia Maria, she watched a family member suffer with the disease and wanted to see a solution, and was confused with this first scene because it implies that it isn't real. Yeah, exactly. See, I'm so she's picking it up as well. I mean, I would have liked to seen just a definitive, like this is their psychosis.
Yes.
This isn't the Matrix.
Yeah.
This isn't the drug Matrix. This is. Psychosis.
No, I agree. Absolutely.
But she agrees the drug addiction had a great perspective with them around the characters as well, but even a more real conversation around it. I think so too. I think a more real conversation around it would have been great. Like I said with like Requiem for a Dream, to me, when I watched that, I was like, oh, this is gritty. This is real.
Right.
This is what people are going through.
Yeah.
In Bliss, they skirted around it a little bit. But at the same time, I think visually it was very interesting. The sci-fi elements of it, they were cool.
I think that's what the skirting around was, is that if they dove into it and had that conversation, there was no room for that sci-fi simulation, controversy. So they purpurposely kind of said, we're going to explore both avenues.
Yeah,
it just didn't work.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I don't like to talk poorly about anybody's work. I know no film is perfect, and I respect the filmmaker for doing it and creating this, because it's obvious. It's a conversation of piece. It's making us talk about it, and it's done the job of a good film, and a good film brings up the subject. And so, I mean, it worked. We ended up talking about our own personal experiences with this type of disease. So that's, I think in that end, it was very successful.
For sure.
But as pros, we know that this thing could have been a little bit leaner.
Yeah, just a little cleaner.
All right. Do you have any other notes for me on Bliss?
Me?
Yeah.
Do I have any other notes for you? No, I don't know. I just like you mentioned, I think that for me, the visual aspect was great. Like you said, a lot of the little things. And I think Salma Hayek for me, honestly, carried the film. Not carried the film. It felt more like it started to become her story, even though it was his story.
I think she's so good, good
and charismatic.
She is. She's one of those actors where you see her and you go, oh yeah, I like Salma Hayek stuff. I like her stuff. And then you watch her and think, oh yeah, I forgot how much I like her stuff, because she brings that charisma right to the film, and she does it. And Owen Wilson is great. Owen Wilson is steady, that he's there and he's steady. He's that character and he's working through it. So it's good to have somebody like her, passionate, convincing, charismatic, to bounce off of him.
Right.
Because
I thought it worked.
It did. Yeah. It really did. It was a nice combination of the two characters. And I think at the end, I thought it was good watching them try and struggle to figure out who's going to quote,
who's going to go. Yeah,
which,
for sure.
is really like, which one of us is going to OD and which one of us is going to rehab.
Yeah.
And so there you go. And one of them chose to stay in the habit, which was, sad.
Yeah, sad. But...
Yeah. Okay. So do you have an idea for our film next week?
No, because I feel like I need to do more research.
Okay.
It's not.
We don't have anything.
Do you have an idea?
Don't ask me, because I'll say something like, we're gonna watch Kong versus Godzilla. Nobody wants to watch us analyze that. So I'll let you find something worthy that we can discuss and really break down.
Okay.
Visually, I don't think there needs to be much broken down with Bliss. It is pretty spot on what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're getting there. Subtextually, I mean, the diamonds are drugs and the way they take them, and then the hallucinations that they're having of using superpowers is probably just them going and knocking people over and being hooligans.
And totally right.
Yeah, we just don't see it. We see the aftermath of it, which was, there was some cool artistic aspects of that, with the roller rink where he sees himself being taken away by the cops as an out-of-body experience. I thought that was super cool.
That was cool. That was a good moment. Yeah.
I wanted to see more of that.
Me too.
We only saw that scene, and I was like, give me more of that. That's the film that I want to see.
Yeah.
Where they're kind of, that was really showing the drug psychosis.
Yeah.
I wanted, So anyway, so well done on that part. I really enjoyed it. All right. So this is brought to you by the Script Summit Screenplay Contest, where you could submit and possibly win a cash prize or a chance with a contract with a Hollywood talent manager. So you go to scriptsummit.com for more info. Other than that, I guess Kristy's going to do some research and get back to us on some.
You will know within 24 hours. We'll know.
Within 24 hours. All right. And then we will go from there. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share in your social media, where you can tag us at The Successful Screenwriter.